other people's culture in a positive way by bringing those people in. Like my husband's games, because he's indigenous things feature in many of his games. Seeing the care that the questions publishers are asking, even when we're pitching games, does give me some hope. I think too, as we're seeing games come out that are difficult, are difficult and are winning BAFTA awards, are difficult but are getting great critical reviews. The challenge is, for the commercial industry, the challenge really is how can that make money? Because there was one point in time where the developers of That Dragon Cancer actually said, we haven't made any money, right? Because people were just watching streams of it. And if you look at something like A Beginner's Life, just the stream by Jacksepticeye had 1.4 million views. And people will say, oh yeah, but that's people who didn't play the game. Well, what if they played it on Game Pass? So those games aren't terribly commercially viable because of streaming. So it is either going to take something like the subsidies, I think, that say the film industry would get to really make these games more viable. But I do know, like, publishers are asking questions and in fact demanding accountability of developers. That is wonderful, So I definitely know we're heading that way. At least I hope we are. Yeah.
Can I ask a very specific question just to follow up on that?
Yeah.
Which publishers are interested in doing interesting things?
Gosh. So watch this space is all I can say. I can't say which publisher we're working with yet, but if you just went through your head of all the big game publishers, I'm sure you want to cross it. I just can't say it yet. And welcome to the world of game development. Commercial game development, what are you working on? Can't say. So, but I do know, like, even when we were pitching a game, we were asked by every major publisher, you can have a female character, can you play as a female character? So those questions are being asked by every big publisher, I'd say, at this point in time. And we're starting to see, like, a lot of diverse narratives. Like, even Apex, when it came out, had a pretty diverse character set. And that's great. Like, so as I already mentioned, that I'm the only white person in my family. And it is wonderful now. Like, I started in the industry in '81, was not able to play as a woman in a game until 1987, which was the Leather Goddesses of Phobos, of all things. And so it's wonderful to see that publishers are moving in that. So they're all moving in that direction. But the specific publisher that I'm talking about, I can't say yet. But when we announce, you'll go, oh, that's the publisher. How many more questions can I do?
One or two more.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to ask about the process of starting to create a new game, board game or not, especially with this, like, having a serious subject matter, as you talked about. Do you have any tips to, like, try out new rules or mechanics and how to kind of make them fit the more serious subject matter?
Yes. So the first thing that I do, I guess it's like several tips. The first thing I do, specifically with Train, I knew if I was going to make a series of 6 games and I did not use that, like, that is the most difficult experience, I would say, in human culture. And so if I skipped that one, I felt like I was cheating. So the first thing I do is try to find the systems. What allowed this to happen? What do I want to focus on? The second step is, where do I want to put you as the player? Because there's many different places that you could be in. And one thing that was very interesting to me about the boxcar specifically was that there was, and still in fact, ongoing suits regarding people saying, oh, I didn't know what I was doing, I was just following orders. And so that was a lie and also really interesting to me. So that's what I wanted to focus on. So when I'm testing games about difficult subject matter, I always test them with something else. So for instance, the early iterations of Train were about going to Disneyland, because I wanted to make sure that the game, first and foremost, was fun, and that people were enjoying. Because I didn't want to get accused of, like, oh, this isn't actually a good game. She just put a difficult concept in, isn't she edgy, right? I wanted to make sure these were formally good games. Then to sound dry, then it's the subject matter expert time, and so I brought Train to Rabbi Belzer. During that, it was 3 hours, and he asked me questions about every rule in the game. And then, much to my surprise, he blessed it as a work of Torah, which is I won't ever have a game review as amazing as that. It was incredible, really. It was terrifying. I won't lie about that. It was absolutely terrifying. And I do that with all these games. But I try, what I want to do, like the research that I did, I do a lot of research into the games, into that space. So for train, and I try to personalize it, because like some of these experiences I wouldn't have, right? So for me, there were a picture of 2 little boys. Each one had a star on them. And I spent every morning with them. I would, because I'm a mom, and I was trying to put myself to the extent that I could. And I understand it's nowhere near, like, I'm at the ceiling if this is even, barely where emotions start. I was nowhere near close to what I needed to feel. So that's what I try, but I'm trying to feel the emotion that I want. If I'm not feeling it, players aren't going to feel it, is what I'm trying to say poorly. So I'm trying to do that with all these games, including the games that are part of my PhD. Although some of them, like patch notes, are kind of funny. But yeah, I think that's the high level of it. And especially if you're making games, like even now, there's certain topics I would say people would say you can't make games about. And I think maybe there's only one topic that I think is just completely off. Since somebody's going to ask pedophilia, it's just something that I just think like that's a topic that should just be left there. Or at least for me, that's not something I'm interested in even exploring.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brenda.